All right, what's good, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back with another fight breakdown. All right, Saturday, August 26th, Oleksandr Usyk is going to be defending his WBA, WBO, and IBF straps, and the IBO if you want to include that. He's going to be defending his titles against Daniel Dubois. Okay, this is going to be on ESPN Plus. Daniel Dubois is his mandatory. All right. I'm gonna do a quick breakdown, and normally these breakdowns that's like this, where like they're a fighter that is like a heavy favorite to win. We're gonna focus more on Dubois and what he has to do to win this fight. I think most of people believe that Usyk is going to win this fight. I don't want to sit here and say that Dubois has zero chance of winning, because I disagree with that. I do think he has a slim chance of winning, but I do think there is a chance for him to win this fight. All right. First of all, both of these fighters, it's big difference in experience. You know, both of them have the same amount of professional fights. They both have around 20 fights. Usyk is undefeated, 20 wins, 13 knockouts, I believe, and Dubois has 19 wins with 18 knockouts and 1 defeat to Joe Joyce. Okay, but Usyk was a phenomenal amateur. He's fought some of the very best as an amateur, some of the very best in pro boxing today. He's fought them already, and if he didn't fight them in the amateurs, he's fought them in the pro rankings for the most part. All right. We all wanted the Tyson Fury undisputed fight, but we didn't get that. Fury is going to fight Francis Ngannou in a crossover MMA fight. It's going to be a boxing fight, but Ngannou is going to be taking his first boxing match against Tyson Fury, so we're not getting that fight right now. I already made content talking about, how I felt about that, and all that, but we're not going to discuss that here. This is going to be a quick breakdown. Now, Usyk did a little film study this morning, just to look at, and I've been watching Usyk for years, and I just wanted to study and find ways exactly how Daniel Dubois could win this fight, right? We already know he's bigger. We already know he's a career heavyweight. He's younger. He's 25 years old. Usyk is 36 now. All right, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's taller than him, he has a longer reach and all of that. He has all those advantages. But Usyk has fought bigger guys. He's had already maybe around 4 heavyweight fights, and and a lot of these heavyweights, like I said earlier, he already fought in the amateurs, But as a cruiserweight, he's one of the best we've seen of all time, undisputed cruiserweight champion, and fought tough dudes in a time where he had to fight the tough dudes. He ran through all the past top cruiserweights, and he ran through the current undefeated fighters. He did all of that. He fought the very best, and he fought in tournament format on top of that. So he had to fight the very best, and he went through all of them. He cleared out the division, undisputed, no debated. He did everything he had to do. And now as a heavyweight, he fought Derek Chisora. He had the Chaz Witherspoon fight, which was pretty much a tune-up for him. And then he had the 2 fights with Anthony Joshua. And since then, this will be his first fight since then. Now, Daniel Dubois, for the other hand, he's won and fought some solid heavyweight fighters. Okay, but then he ran into Joe Joyce, where he took his first L, where he was stopped. And I believe he broke his orbital bone in that fight, or had some kind of eye injury, and he was stopped there. But we also got to include the most recent fight that he had against Kevin Lerena. Is his first name Kevin? Let me just double check. Yeah, Kevin Lerena, all right, who was a southpaw, and pretty much gearing him up to this fight with Usyk. Kevin Lerena, like underdog. I know a lot of people were leaving comments under my video saying, this guy has a good chance. In the very first round, it looked like he did, because he was able to drop Daniel Dubois and drop him 3 times in that first round. And he caught him with a I know it was a combination. I know it was like a maybe a left hook or something on the inside. He pretty much caught him in between punches with some short shots on the inside, and Danny Dubois took a long time to recover, so he kept taking knees basically because he wasn't fully recovered from that first shot that landed in the first knockdown. All right, so coming off of that win, even though he did stop him in the 3rd round, very controversial. A lot of guys with There's a lot of fans that believe that this guy, took the L on purpose. He basically threw the fight because, the conspiracy theorists. But I seen the fight, and I thought it was kind of strange how Lorena just stopped fighting after that first round. Especially after having him hurt that bad. Lorena in the second and third rounds, he didn't come with anything after that. You know what I mean? So he caught a big shot. I think he caught a right hand to the chin, and that's what basically, Daniel Dubois finished him off after that. All right. So look, Usyk. The one thing about Usyk when I watch his fights, and I want to bring up these 4 opponents specifically, because I think these are the most important in my opinion in his pro career. Mike Hunter, Briedis, AJ, and Derek Chisora. I feel like they had the most success against Usyk, especially in the earlier rounds. I think AJ was doing well in the first half of their rematch. Briedis gave him the toughest fight, non-debating. I think Briedis at least won 5 rounds of that fight. It was a very close fight. Briedis was winning the first half. He clearly won the first half of the fight. Mike Hunter was able to really throw down and at points, attack and box with Usyk for a certain amount of time. And you had Derek Chisora, who was bigger and just was the most aggressive, and he was just the most unorthodox in that fight because he was brawling, he was switching, he was throwing punches from different angles. He was just being rough and rugged. Those 4 fighters had success. But there's one common thing with these 4 fighters that all lost to Usyk. They couldn't match his conditioning. As well as they did in the first half, whatever they were doing to stay in the fight early, they couldn't maintain it in the second fight. And I think that is the biggest thing you got to understand. Usyk, we already know. Unless you're not familiar, he's a phenomenal talent, right? From a technical aspect, he's a southpaw, phenomenal angles, great timing, you know what I mean? Great movement. He's a phenomenal athlete. Stays physically, he's always in shape. He's always ready to go. He's a phenomenal athlete, and he's a very good technician, you know what I mean? But there are periods where fights are very competitive with him until they aren't anymore. Even Tony Bellevue. That's maybe the 5th fight that I could say that was very, very competitive because Bellevue was able to time that right hand straight down the middle better than anyone. So you got to mention him too. But the thing is, none of these guys can sustain this over a certain period of time. Even if you're winning early, you can't maintain it, and you're putting out, you're giving so much of your energy just to stay in the fight early on, or win the fight, or winning the fight, but you're giving away so much of yourself that by the time you slow down, Usyk he's just getting warmed up. So if the fights are competitive with him early and you haven't knocked him out, which no one has done yet, people have to go all the way back to when Better BF dropped him with a body shot in the amateurs. They have to go back. This guy is so good that people have to go to his amateur fights to look for holes in his game. You know what I mean? And it's not like other fighters haven't hurt him or hit him to the body. Not hurt him, but hit him to the body. There's plenty of fighters that done it. Briedis did it. AJ was doing it a lot in the rematch. A lot of these fighters had good game plans. It's just that they wasn't able to maintain whatever that was working for him, in their fights. So I think that is the major key going into this fight here. Daniel Dubois, big, strong, very aggressive, big right hand. But he's one-dimensional, Yes, he has a youth advantage there because, he's a younger guy. He's a fresher guy. You would think that he should have that advantage as far as cardio and all that. but he's probably not. And I know Usyk is 36 years old, and that's what I say. If this is what the chances that I think that, once you get past the 35-year-old range, there's a point where it's, especially when you're a super athletic fighter like Usyk is, when are you going to start slowing down? I watched a little bit of the Joshua rematch because I thought Joshua did a good job. The thing with Joshua, though, is Joshua relies a lot on counters. Yes, he works the jab. Yes, he went to the body. Yes, he threw some good right hands. But Joshua is not a high volume guy, and he wasn't really pressuring Usyk. So when you're not pressuring him and you're not throwing a high volume like Breedis was, or maybe a Mike Hunter was, or even a Derek Chisora, it becomes a technical fight. It becomes a chess match. And AJ, who did better in the rematch, it still wasn't enough because you're playing chess with a better chess player. You know what I mean? So even though you did better and he was a little bit more aggressive, he did well. He did good in the rematch. Unlike the other fighters I just named, he just wasn't doing enough because he's better than you when it comes to skills. And he's a better athlete, in my opinion. Even though he's smaller, he knows how to use his lack of size as his advantage because he has a speed advantage. He moves really well. And you're burning yourself down by trying to track him down. You know what I mean? So Usyk he's one of the best in the game. He's been in my top 3 pound for pound for years now, since the tournament. You know what I mean? But it's really between him, Inoue, and Crawford. I think are the best talents in boxing, in my opinion. I don't know what I'm expecting and what I suggest for Daniel Dubois is to be aggressive, because you can't play chess. He's not as skillful as AJ. AJ has more offensively, he has more in his arsenal. Defensively, he's better. I know AJ lost a fight, but I like what I saw him do in the rematch. I like the head movement that I saw, the upper body movement. I like the feints, but when I look at him and then I look at Breedis gave us everything. Breedis gave you everything Usyk could bring, but as an orthodox fighter. And that's why that fight was so competitive. The reason why he lost is that he couldn't maintain in the second half. The second half, Usyk cleared him out. You know what I mean? Breedis by far did the best. Breedis came, he's changing levels, he's feinting, he's using he's doing a lot with his lead hands. He's doing everything that Usyk can do. He was matching Usyk or even beating him early on because he was being more aggressive. But once he started to slow down, that's the problem. None of these fighters have been able to maintain it. Chisora was very sloppy, but it was aggressive. He made it rough and rugged. You know what I mean? But even with him, when he slowed down, the fight wasn't as competitive. It was close. All these fights were close. Most of them were. I thought Bellew was the most accurate with the right hand, timing Usyk. But the other thing that people sleep on when it comes to Usyk is his durability. He's fought punchers in cruiserweight, as an amateur, and as heavyweight. He's fighting punchers, and he's taking clean shots for them. And he's all right. We haven't even seen him get knocked down. We haven't seen him badly hurt. Badly hurt. You know what I mean? We see him get caught with good shots that you could tell hurt him. But he's been able to recover from everything that's been thrown at him. You know what I mean? So you have Daniel Dubois, who I feel is one-dimensional. Solid jab, good right hand. Defensively, he's flawed, though. Easy target. Was a very easy target for Joe Joyce because his head is dead center. He's all offense. All offense. Very little defense. And it's worked out for him up to this point because these guys were overwhelmed by his strength and his power. But when you're fighting a master boxer like this, a guy that's going to be able to slip and counter you with left hooks, with right hooks, and he is super accurate with that straight left hand, and then once he gets a rhythm going, once you slow down, if it gets that far, once you begin to slow down and he's already figures you out, it's over. Daniel Dubois' best chances of winning this. All right. I think when I think about it, he has to be aggressive, but he has to match his stamina. He has to keep it going for 12 rounds. If this fight can go 12 rounds and Daniel Dubois can keep that volume going, staying on top of Usyk, and just continue being aggressive like the way Derek Chisora is, because he's not Anthony Joshua. He's not Anthony Joshua. He's not Bellew. He's not Joshua. He's not Hunter. He's not Breedis. So he has to bring the fight straight to him. Usyk has fought so many different guys that were trying to be aggressive with him. But he can lose rounds. And if Dubois can stay in the fight, right, and pace himself good enough to a point where he's being busier than AJ, right, but he doesn't burn himself out, and his cardio stays, somewhat kind of consistent, he would have a chance. Obviously, the other option of him winning is him stopping Usyk, but again, it's not like he doesn't have the power to do it, but we've seen this story over and over again. Again, Usyk is 36 years old, and he's not the most active fighter. He's basically fighting once a year, if that. So, with that being said, is Usyk going to show up looking old this fight here? It's a possibility, It's a possibility where Dubois is up on the earlier rounds because of his aggression, and Usyk doesn't really pick it up enough to take over in the second half. You know what I mean? It's a possibility. But at the end of the day, we just seen Dubois get hurt and dropped and almost get stopped by someone that's not nearly on the level as Usyk, and someone that's also a southpaw. It's not going to be hard because of the lack of defense that Dubois has compared to almost everybody else that Usyk fought. It's going to be very easy for Usyk to land and score against him. And if Usyk can hurt him, we seen Dubois 3 times in this last fight, and we seen him get stopped by the Juggernaut. How long can he take Usyk's power? Now, the thing with Usyk is he hasn't really been stopping guys since he moved up. Yes, he stopped Chaz Witherspoon, but that was a tune-up, and it wasn't like dramatic fashion. It's not like the way he stopped Bellew down at cruiser. You know what I mean? Usyk has power, but he's not like a KO artist. So if Dubois doesn't get hurt by him, then he might have a good shot. I'm not going to completely, I didn't check what the odds are, but if you're a betting man, I'm not betting anything on Usyk because he's probably got a huge favorite to win. I didn't check them. I should have checked them before I did this video, but I'll probably put a tiny bit of cash down on Dubois just in case he pulls off a massive upset. That's what I would do if they are really, really wide. But I'm expecting it to be wide simply because of the fact that Dubois, from a talent perspective, there's a gap between them. You know what I mean? But what I do like about Dubois is that he is going to be aggressive, and he does have the power. He does have more speed than Chisora. I think he has a better chance as Chisora, but it's just that Chisora was very unorthodox in that fight there. Whereas Dubois is one commissioner, jab, right hand. He's going to go to the body a little bit, but there's not much feints. He's not really tricky. He's not really crafty like that. You already know what he's bringing to the table. But you never know if this fight goes the distance and Usyk doesn't pick it up like he normally does, and Dubois doesn't slow down like most of Usyk opponents, I can see it being a close decision fight, no matter which way it goes. Especially when you get into the age where, you're not as active. And we could have said the same thing about Crawford because Crawford's pretty much the same age as Usyk. All right, but when the reason why I still believe that Usyk is going to win is because when the skill set is the gap in skills and the talent is this wide, you gotta go with the guy that's more skilled, clearly more skilled. And I think Usyk is clearly more skilled, But you never know. I mean, every fight counts at this point, and as being as he's extremely athletic. I watched Joshua 2 this morning, right? Some of it, and then I watched Breedis and Hunter with Usyk. And I noticed a dramatic difference in just the movement, the speed of Usyk. He's fighting at a lower weight class. He's much quicker. He's younger. You know what I mean? I see that there is a difference, How long can he keep going fighting at this high level? And does he need to be at his very best to beat Daniel Dubois? I don't think so. I think that Usyk wins the fight. I think he's probably going to be in the best shape that he could currently be in at his age. And I have him winning the fight. All right. But I do think there is a chance for Daniel Dubois because of his style, his power, his aggression, and his youth. I do think there is a chance. But he has to be aggressive because he can't make it be a waiting game. Because the more time you give Usyk, the more it becomes a chess match. And you don't want that. You want to be all over Usyk like the way Derek Chisora is because you're not as talented as him. Not nearly. So you want to be the bigger man and fight like you are the bigger man. All right. I have Usyk to win. Could be stoppage. That part I'm not sure of. I'm expecting. I like Usyk's chances of stopping Dubois. I'm gonna go with Usyk a stoppage. I'm gonna go Usyk by stoppage. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. All right. I think it could go the distance, but I'm gonna go with Usyk by stoppage. Just the way that Dubois looked in his last fight. And the way he, being stopped already by Joe Joyce in his only loss. I think Usyk, even though he doesn't have the biggest power, I think Usyk is going to hit him too much, too clean. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be able to stop him at some point. Maybe not early, but maybe in the later rounds, all right? Anyway, I'm out of here. Make sure you guys... Oh, am I going to be here Saturday? I don't know. I do have somewhere to be at that time. I'm going to try to push it off. But I won't know until Saturday. If I can get on, I'm going to get on. It says 5 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Plus. I'm not sure if they're showing an undercard, but if I can get on, I will get on for the fight. All right? Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.